All right,
All right, guys,
everybody.
welcome into another episode. Oh.
Go for it, man.
We got a lot of listener questions as well, which is nice.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome into another episode of the Queen City Soccer Show. I am Cole Godfrey, and I'm joined as always by Level Up Luke. Luke, how you feeling, man?
I am hanging in here, man. The Copa America game yesterday was a lot, so getting my energy back today.
Yeah, there was a lot going on out at the Bank of America Stadium. But before we get to that, dude, what a beautiful, beautiful scene it was. Just that stadium was absolutely slam packed, and just before all the mayhem at the end, the game itself, the atmosphere, the national coverage, the international coverage, man, it just top notch, man. I looking on TV or watching from TV, it was a sight to behold. I couldn't imagine being there like you were.
It was honestly, man, like I wasn't planning on going. A ticket kind of fell into my lap from a friend of the program. And originally, I thought I don't have a team in this game. It doesn't matter. I'm an impartial observer. Let me just tell you, man, I started off at Hopfly, which was by happenstance the Uruguay bar. So they were loud and passionate, the Uruguay fans. There weren't very many of them, but the ones that were there were loud. Then, as soon as you walk outside, downtown Charlotte was taken over by the Colombian supporters. It was incredible, man. And ended up going to their tailgate, and they can party. So they won me over. I got myself a little Colombia jersey, made some Colombian friends there, and had a great time. Saw a lot of friends of the program, and it was unbelievable. It ended up going from a game I had no interest in going to one of the best sporting events of my life. I think it was up there with some of the best games I've been to in person.
Yeah, I seen the Columbia jersey. Where'd you cop that thing at?
Literally, just some dude on the street was selling it. So I was like, oh, I got to do it. Like, you actually got one in my size. I got to do it.
Yeah, I seen that. I was like, man, I was like, look at this guy, man. He's embracing it fully. Jorge Torres would be very proud.
Colombian for a day. Yeah, I was hanging out with Jorge and Sombrero Man. Me and Sombrero Man were throwing down with some shots of agua agua fuego, I think is what they call it, like fire water. I might be getting the name wrong, but it tasted like Sambuca or Jägermeister or something. It was pretty potent little shot, but goes down very smooth. And the Colombians were just, I kept on getting shots poured in my hand and poured down my throat, and QC Javi made me chug a ice cold beer, which I haven't done since maybe college. Chugging an ultra cold beer is not a very pleasant experience. I got brain freeze. But yeah, it was a blast.
Yeah, so before all that transpired at Bank of America last night, Charlotte FC did have a match the previous weekend at the Bank of America Stadium, and
Did
where
they?
they hosted
Uh, did that
at the
happen?
at the
Are we sure about that?
yeah, it's unfortunate. Um, Charlotte do lose 2-1, their second game in a row that they drop, and realistically, man, obviously Inter Miami coming into this game against Charlotte was top of the East and was they were out without Messi, without
Yeah.
Luis Suarez, and it's one of those things where I was expecting a win, and it just again, man, I hate to be like this, but the ref is just the center of the show once again. I mean, there was 24 fouls in this match, and just five yellow cards, one red card. It was just the ref had lost complete control, which we'll get into. But yeah, man, you didn't go to this match, right, Luke?
I did not. I think it's the first game this year that I chose to skip. I let my tickets go and spent some time uh, on my mental health, let's say, and just had a pleasant evening before running that Twitter Spaces after the game. So I logged onto that Spaces, having only seen the highlights and the game recap, and I got to hear our our MVPs, our listeners, venting about the game. And honestly, I was in such a good mood that I just let them vent, and I still felt great at the end of the night. But it's important to take some time off and focus on yourself when you need to, when you're feeling a little burnt out. And I had been telling you, man, just following not only Charlotte FC but Independence, the soccer tournament. Um, all the other clubs and competitions that we've been keeping track of here. It's been a long season already, and we're kind of at that midpoint, and I just wasn't feeling it. Like even a week ahead of time, I was telling you, I don't know if I'm going to that game. It's just not something I feel like swinging at this point. Um, and that's not a foreshadowing of anything to come. I still love all the soccer teams here and support them, and I love being on the podcast and covering it, but like I said, it's important to take a break sometimes.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, I get it, dude. I mean, you again, you don't have to explain anything to me. I completely understand where you're coming from. It's essentially a full-time job without pay. So it's a lot, but we do it because we love it, and we do it because we love you, the listeners. So yeah, subscribe, like, follow us on Twitter at QCS Pod, Instagram at QCS Pod underscore, and then at QCS Pod on everything else. So
Yeah, make sure to give us
um,
a 5-star review on your podcast platform of choice. That helps other listeners find us. And if any of you are producers, audio, video, and you would like to join our team and get involved, we are actively looking for some additional production support, which would go a long way in helping our video and audio content level up and take things up a notch for the listeners and for the community.
yeah, and but yeah, man, I just want to say, Luke has obviously done a wonderful job. It's been a great addition to the QCS pod, and so I mean, again, completely understandable. But Luke, we did have a game. I was there. I was on press duty this game, and so I got to watch it from the press box. Got to attend the dean presser afterwards, and then they had Ashley come out and speak to the press after as well. And so we'll just kind of jump right into it. The lineups. I was not confused, but I mean it's always in I trust. So, but Brant Bronico's gets the start instead of Bender. What was your thoughts on that?
Well, I get it, but I was more confused just looking at the match summary that Bronico played the entire game.
Yeah,
That seemed like a missed opportunity to me. Bender didn't see the field, and I think you could have seen a little BB for BB substitution in the second half there. But I mean, what did you think about the Bronico situation?
yeah. I mean, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I mean, if you see a midfield of Bronico, Westwood, and then either Gianni or Urso, it's telling that Dean's playing a little bit more defensively,
Right.
and I didn't see the purpose in it in this match personally because they're without their two main pieces up front, Luis Suarez and Lionel Messi. So, I mean, obviously they have talent with Campana, Robert Taylor, Kremeshi, Julian Gressel, Diego Gomez. I mean, they have talent, but dude, we do too, and we're playing at home. And I would have personally liked to seen Ben start up there just to throw numbers a little bit more forward. And would it have made a difference? I don't know, but it was one of those things, man, where I would have liked to seen Ben personally myself, and but we didn't. So you had Brant, obviously getting the start as we just talked about. The rest of the lineup is pretty much the same as it always been. You got Jabril partnering back up there with Ashley Westwood, and then obviously Pat Kerwin and Liel, and then the same back line that has been doing wonders all season with Kalina in goal. Yeah, man, this game, the theme of Charlotte FC seasons of this season when they do lose is missed opportunities. And, Pat had several opportunities. And he did put one away. It was a great goal in the 41st minute. And it was you had already conceded. Robert Taylor scored in the 30th minute, so you were down 1-0. And then Patrick scores in the 41st going into halftime. But again, man, we're getting in those good positions as Dean talked about and talked about after this game, and he actually said after this game that if we had put the half of the chances away that we have been in front of goal with, we'd probably be sitting in the top three of the East, which I do agree with. And but yeah, so Pat misses a bunch of chances, and you go into halftime 1-1.
Yeah, and you know what, 1-1 at halftime against Inter Miami, I'll take it, but given the situation, I don't necessarily love it. This is the shorthanded game, and we need to be taking advantage of getting the top team in the East at home without their key players, right? Like 1-1's not going to cut it. One goal's not going to cut it. We need to be finishing and scoring at a much higher clip. And from watching the highlight package, like we're talking about Ajman, he had several that should have been finished cleaner. They should have been on target. And if they had just been on target, we could be looking at a different ball game.
Yeah, and I do want to mention on that Pat goal, Gary Ronan gets another assist, and man, this guy is just lighting up with assists so far this season. What do you think about Year's how he's played, how this season has progressed, how his play has progressed, specifically playing out there on that left back position, but getting balls into the box to get all these assists.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a really interesting part of his game. I feel like that was something that the scouting department was looking at when they brought him in. Uh, he really fit the profile of a left back in, you know, we had we had a similar style last year where the wingbacks would play forward more. But I really like what he's doing, and I don't often have critical things to say about Euronen. When I do, it's corner kicks or free kicks. I don't know if he's the answer there, but yeah, the rest of his game has developed very well this season, and um, I mean, I would like to see more of him. In that attacking third. So that development, I think, has been really fun to watch.
Yeah, I agree 100%. So yeah, man, then you come out in the second half, and realistically, it was just a more missed opportunities, honestly. And then with the heartbreaker, Kremeski for Inter Miami in the 86th minute, and scores, and you go down 2-1. And I will say there was multiple opportunities in the second half where Charlotte probably should have had a penalty. Patrick just it's been the theme all season. He just does not get the benefit of the doubt when it comes to calls, specifically in the box. So, but you go down 2-1 in the 86th minute, and you're thinking, or at least I was thinking, watching it live, we're gonna have a decent amount of stoppage time here, and we did not. We only had, I think it was 5 or 6 minutes, and then in the 96th minute, with literally the last set piece of the game Charlotte had to score, Patrick Ajimon gets a red card for stomping on a foot of an Inter Miami player, and gets a red card, so he will now miss the very important match this Saturday up in Cincinnati.
Yeah, and you know, hearing Ashley Westwood after the game and seeing him get all fired up on the pitch, there's no argument that it deserved to be called against Pat. But at the end of the game like that, it hurts the team so much because we need him out there for us against Cincinnati, and we don't have very many options. So it's kind of like double damage when this happens because not only is Pat facing a fine from MLS and missing a game, but there's I mean, what do we do, man? Like put Bender up top or Tavares? I don't even know. We can talk more about that in the game preview, but yeah, that red card that's tough.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and actually hit the nail on the head. He was standing right there. He said it was a clear red. He just, attributed it to Pat being young and learning. This being a learning opportunity for him, and I agree. I mean, it's unfortunate. He lost his cool, and it was asked to Ashley in the press conference after the game, what you know, why does he not get these calls? And he said he should take it as a compliment because he's starting to gain the attention of the opponents, and they're starting to really, really focus on him and try to make things very difficult for him and get under his skin. He just has to keep his head about him, which he didn't obviously this day, but at the same time, you got to learn from this. It's the same thing, right, with Tim Weah and the U.S. men's national team. It it's not about you. This is not a solo person. This isn't MMA. This isn't tennis. This is a team game. And at the end of the day, you got to put the team in front of yourself.
Yeah. And it's frustrating. He's not getting the calls he should be. It's not fair. It's not right. And it's a long game, man. 90 minutes and you're in stoppage time and you know, they're pushing you and you stomp on the guy's foot. It's a kind of quick reaction. I'm sure he didn't intend to do that. He wasn't thinking about it, but it happened. So here we are. We just
Yep.
gotta train and be better. Especially when you're Pat, you're being held to a much higher standard than other players, and that's a tough burden, but it's one he has to bear.
Yep. All right, man. So, who would get your crown of the day for this match?
I mean, it's tough in a game like this, right? I think a lot of players played really well, but I'm gonna give it to you, Ronan. I don't think we shut him out enough.
Yeah, I mean that's who I was going to go with as well. But just for the sake of having something different, I'm going to go with the Charlotte FC fans. They packed. I think it was 47,000, I believe, was the
Yeah,
official attendance. So and again, that place when Pat scored went absolutely insane. They were on the ref all night, and deservedly so, in my opinion. And it was just absolutely, you know, uh, electric atmosphere. So I'm gonna give it to the fans because the fans showed up and they showed out this game.
for the crown, baby. Let's go.
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean,
So
I think we can move on. That would have been a great game to get 3 points at home. I would have settled for 1 point. I think leaving that game with 0 points is a failure. I think it's a disappointment, especially given our home record and Miami's current situation. It's just a monster missed opportunity. And at the end of the season, if we're looking at that playoff line and that playoff race, and we're not where we want to be, and we're missing out on 3 points, we'll look back at this game and say, that was the opportunity. That was the moment where we could have seized glory and we let it slip through our fingers.
it was a massive one, man, because now you've lost back to back, and then you have a horrible road trip coming up to FC Cincinnati and then to Columbus. So it just gets no easier whatsoever. And this was a game that was there for the taking. And before Leagues Cup comes, we have to scramble up all these points. You sit in sixth in the East right now, and yeah, I mean it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. We're going to talk more about the Cincinnati match here in a little bit, but going up there without Pat, we got a tough stretch coming ahead, and this was a game that you had to have, and it was there. It was there for the taking.
Yeah.
So, what we got next, Luke? We got FC Cincinnati coming up.
Yeah, man. Stay tuned. We have an interview with Cincinnati Soccer Talk coming up right after this message. This episode of the Queen City Soccer Show is brought to you by SeatGeek. The summer is heating up, and so are all of your favorite events, whether that is soccer or baseball or concerts, you name it. SeatGeek has you covered. Ready to check out Copa America this summer? Go to SeatGeek.com and enter the promo code QCSPod at checkout for $20 off your ticket. SeatGeek.com, promo code QCSPod.
Luke, we have a special guest on today.
Yeah, man, we're doing a little jersey swap here with the Cincy Soccer Talk guys, and Jeff Tibbetts is joining us.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it was good to have like 30-minute little recording with Luke. On our side, we run our Monday night live podcasts with the crew, and then we have these two little splinter podcasts that we run. One is with Coach Brad Goff, who goes into sort of like analyzing the games that we just participated in. And then Jersey Swap, which is the one that I host. And we basically will talk with as many podcasters for the team that we're facing and sort of get their perspective on how their season's going, how they expect the game to go, just to sort of pick their brain a little bit before we actually see 90 minutes of action.
Fantastic. Hey, Cole, I know you have a relationship with these guys. You've been on the show in the past, and now I get to join that little club. So it should be pretty fun, man. I think you might have been with me at Hopfly when Cincinnati came to town here in Charlotte, and we met some of the Cincinnati supporters. I'm trying to remember. I think you were there with me, but I was telling Jeff on their pod. It was great, man. Like the Cincinnati fans really, represented themselves well in their club, and we had a great time hanging out. We actually did a little short video segment with one of their supporter groups for our YouTube and TikTok channels. So, I'm excited. I would love to get up to Cincinnati and return the favor and tailgate up there with those guys.
Yeah, no, I was with you at Hopfly, and what was the name of the supporters group? Noda,
The Norden, yeah,
Norden, yeah,
The Norden. That's what it is.
yeah. They got they're one of the sort of like the four main groups, I guess you can call in here. We have Die Innenstadt, which is like the German for the inner city. We have the Pride, who's probably the biggest supporter group. We've got the Brigade, and then we've got the Norden, who sort of represent the northern parts of Cincinnati.
Okay. Yeah, they were kind enough to chat with us and let us do a couple of social media videos with them, and they were great. Like Luke was saying, they were great. They were fantastic to host them, and I agree with Luke 100%. I'd like to get up there and watch a game up there for sure.
So tell us, what can we expect going into this game on Saturday, Jeff? What is the atmosphere going to be like, and what is that home support looking like for Cincinnati this season?
It was certainly better than it was a week ago this time. I think, I mean, we had the short week where we had to go down to DC, and I don't think we really looked our best in DC, even though we came out with a 3-2 victory on the road. You could tell that some of our defense was sort of still trying to get on to all cylinders with injuries to Matt Miazga and Nick Hagland, really leaving our defensive line in pieces. But then, boy, 6-1 against Inter Miami. It doesn't matter if it's with Messi, without Messi, with Suarez, without Suarez. A win against Inter Miami in this formation, we're feeling pretty good. We're going into this game with a lot more motivation, a lot more confidence on our side.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we just faced Inter Miami at home ourselves, and without Messi and Suarez, and got beat. And so, we can attest that it's no small feat. That definitely in the emphatic fashion that y'all put it to them. So, and not only that, I mean, I'm sure y'all talked about it on your pod, Jeff, but we're coming out there. We're coming up there without our starting striker, who got a red card in the last match against Inter Miami. So we're going to have a tough time, specifically in the attack against you guys.
Yeah.
Well, there's a few things looking at that. I mean, one, we're not exactly the behemoths at home that we used to be. I mean, last season we did pretty well for our home record. This season we've lost some pretty bad games at home. I mean, 2-1 loss to the Revolution. We lost to Red Bull when they came in. We had a few bad 0-0 draws to start the season at home. So it's no slam dunk. 6-1 victory against Inter Miami or not. But also, I think we've gone into games such as the one against DC where we thought, we had the opponents on the ropes. They didn't have much in terms of bodies on the bench, but they still pressed us for 90 minutes and really made us work for that win.
So tell us, like, looking at the game on Saturday, you have a couple key pieces, some players that are out with injuries that may be coming back from injuries. What does that report look like for you guys and availability on Saturday?
Well, I mean, the two names that I had mentioned, Matt Miazga, Defender of the Year for MLS last season, he's out for the rest of the year because of a PCL injury. His knee took a bad beating at San Jose a few weeks ago. And then once, we had that first punch to the gut, and then we got a haymaker to the face. Nick Hagland, who has sort of been our guy off the bench for the D line, he ended up breaking his fibula. So he's out for the
Ooh.
rest of the season. So whatever you do, please do not aim for Miles Robinson's knees. He really needs them for the Olympics. The only other name I can really think of that might not, well, definitely won't be there, our center midfielder, Obi Nwobodo. He got a yellow card, and he is officially out on a yellow card accumulation suspension. The good news is that he got a red card a few games ago, and the game afterwards, we still looked pretty good. So we're not too worried about our depth at the moment. I think the only other name is Malik Pinto, who suffered a little bit of an injury with the FCC2 squad, so he wouldn't be available either. But other than that, I think we're rocking a pretty healthy squad.
Gotcha. As far as what we need to look at, I think we're kind of keying in on the big matchup here being the Cincinnati offense versus the Charlotte defense. And our listeners know all about Charlotte's back line. We just signed Adilson Milando to a contract extension today. Andrew Privet got one earlier in the season. Yuri Yoronin, the Finnish international, and then Nathan Byrne, who has reinvented himself this season as I call him like a demon back there. The dude's got so much fire and passion. I wish I could bottle it up and sell that. I'd become a millionaire overnight. Kalina, the 9 clean sheets, man. The clean sheets. So that's our defense, and that's really what is going to make or break the Charlotte FC effort. Tell me, like, the Cincinnati attack, what are you guys bringing to the table to try to break us down on the defensive side?
It's going to depend on really how confident Pat Noonan is with rolling out the same formation that he rolled out against Inter Miami. The season, we sort of started out with sort of a 3-5-2 formation where, we rolled with the offense up there. Corey Baird and Aaron Bupenza started up there. But they really didn't, I think, display any sort of cohesiveness with the rest of the squad. So that's where you were seeing the 0-0 draws. And so I think what Pat Noonan's starting to experiment with, and quite successfully, is the use of Luca Orishano, who we have on loan from South America. He's sort of taken the spot that Alvaro Barreal had taken, which was the left wing back position. But over time, we've been using him more on the right as an inverted winger. And against Miami, he was probably one of the best players on the pitch. A bunch of assists in that game. He's showing that he can play much more of a triple threat up there. It doesn't really matter who the main striker is, whether it's Kevin Kelsey, who we also picked up on loan, Yuya Kubo, who's been sort of a revelation for us, or of course Lucho Acosta. But they've been experimenting with like a 3-prong attack, and in this case, it just happens that 2 of the prongs of that attack are midfielders that are doing quite well.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll say I think a big key for Charlotte is Ashley Westwood and whoever Dean ends up starting back there in the center defensive midfield role in front of that back line. I mean, we had pretty good success against you guys when you came down earlier this season. Finished 1-1, and honestly, not a lot of people were expecting us to win that game, me included. I was not expecting us to win that game at all. But it's different when you're playing specifically for this Charlotte team when they're playing at home versus when they're playing away. They're coming off of two losses in a row, and again coming up there without a starting striker, and it's going to be interesting to see. Karol Swiderski obviously is back with the team, but not going to be available for this match. And Scott Arfield is now gone. He's going to Bolton, so I'm very intrigued to see again what y'all's attack does against our defense. But where do you see an advantage, if any, getting forward for Charlotte against Cincinnati's defense?
In terms of how to attack our defense, is that what we're saying here? I
Right.
mean, really, you're looking at Miles Robinson, sort of our obviously our defender of the current season, playing sort of the keystone in the middle. Usually that's Matt Miazga's role, but he's also very adept into sliding there and sort of helping out Ian Murphy on his left, and probably in all likelihood either Kip Keller or Alvis Powell on his right. Alvis is not a traditional center back, so if anything, that might be the location that you try to attack. But you also have on that side DeAndre Edlin, who we picked up from Miami, and he's shown a lot of flashes of speed, and he's able to both, I think, bolster that defensive attack, the defensive shield, I should say, and turn around the offensive attack when necessary. So uh, I'd say whoever's on the right, you probably have to attack that, but that also means having to get through the surrounding pieces that are able to, I think, pick up any sort of stray attacks that come through.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good. And mentioning Miles Robinson earlier, I'm from Syracuse, New York. I love me some Miles Robinson. He was a Orangeman, and now to see him represent the U.S. national team, he's definitely, I think, my favorite U.S. national team player. I was really hoping Charlotte could have gotten him in the offseason, but I think he found a pretty good home with you guys there. Yeah, that'll be huge. And he's playing with you guys for the next 2 games before going off to the Olympics.
Yeah, he's going to be at this game. He'll be available for the midweek game against Chicago at home, and then he's off to the Olympics. We really could use him, I think, at that away game at Red Bull, but beggars can't be choosers right now. I think what's important is we just want to see him succeed in an opportunity that he really wasn't given in Copa America. He was called into the U.S. team there and didn't see a lick of time on the pitch, which we felt both was a shame and a travesty.
Yeah.
So to see him, I think, succeeding and getting that opportunity that he wasn't given as a youngster, I think we're hoping that he can bring back something memorable and substantial.
Yeah, I totally agree. And we've covered some of the U.S. National team discussions, and obviously today is a very good day for U.S. soccer fans with the news yesterday that Berhalter was out, and then today the rumors flying that Jurgen Klopp was approached, and oh man, that smarmy press conference from Cherundolo that I just saw on my timeline. Good Lord. But anything's got to be better, one would imagine, than Berhalter. So I think Miles Robinson might get some more action for the national team in the near future.
There have been people that are sort of like, what about Pat Noonan? Look what he's done with Cincinnati. What about Pat Noonan? And we're like, dude, no, ixnay on the at pay Noonan a. It's we really feel that Noonan has been sort of an amazing artist at work when he's coaching this team. He seems to be putting together the right pieces at the right time and has a great rapport with Chris Albright, the guy who's really making all the big decisions in the front office. So to have the two of them working together, it feels like it would be a shame if we were to lose one of those, especially after both have been given extensions. But then you've also got all of these available pieces as assistant coaches. I mean, I can see Kenny Arena, Bruce Arena's son, doing something with the U.S. team in the future. I mean, we've got Dom Kinnear, who has been one of the unspoken leaders on the coaching staff. We've even got some really good goalkeeping coaching staff as well. This is a team that I don't want to see break up anytime soon in the coaching staff, but it seems inevitable.
Yeah. So I'm assuming that you're a United States men's national team fan.
Absolutely.
So would Pat Noonan, I mean, you would know more about him than anybody else that we're talking about. Would he be a good fit for the United States men's national team head coaching job as far as how they play and the talent pool that they do have? Do you think he could step in and find success or more success than Berhalter was finding? And, selfishly, I know as a Cincinnati fan, you don't want to see him go, but as a men's national team fan, you should want what's best for the men's national team, man.
I mean, I don't know. I think he's good for being able to massage egos. I mean, you've got Lucho Acosta, who is a talented MVP candidate year in, year out. He could definitely win the MVP this year again. And I think a lot of that comes from Pat Noonan keeping egos in check, letting the players who dictate things on the pitch to have free roam. I don't know how well he would do for the likes of Pulisic, the likes of Gio Reyna. I don't know how he would do for massaging those egos. That being said, I I would rather throw out Jim Curtin as a name. I mean, I think you look at Jim Curtin, and he's the guy that sort of fed all of these talented coaches that are coming into be successful in MLS. I would like to see if Jim Curtin can do something with what he's been able to do at Philadelphia, especially with all of the youngsters that have come through. I think he would do a much better job at taking all of the academy players, all of the under uh, 18, under 20 players who are ready to make the next move to the U.S. team and give them their opportunities. I don't know if I really don't know with Pat what his play would be for a U.S. team.
Yeah, and I mean, I think I kind of agree with you as far as the curtain part, because not only that, but I mean, you have Philadelphia is not having a very good season this year, and with that going, we had Jose on when we played the Union a few weeks ago, and I asked him if Curtin was on the hot seat, and he pretty much said no, he's not on the hot seat, and but at the same time, if the U.S. comes calling, which I do want to kind of, we've been very critical of Matt Crocker on this show specifically. But you know what? Going at least reaching out to Jurgen Klopp shows that they're swinging for the fences. So, with that type of gall to go after somebody like that, I'm very hopeful, which I have not been in the past couple of weeks. So, but getting back to Cincinnati and Charlotte, how do you see this game transpiring on Saturday? Do you see more of a Cincinnati domination like they did against Inter Miami? Or are you expecting a closer game?
I'm expecting a closer game because I look at Miami's defense, I look at Charlotte's defense, and I see a Charlotte team that is much more prepared for offensive attacks down the middle. I see a Charlotte team that is miles better than what they had on the pitch last season. So I find it will be difficult to penetrate through. Then again, we've got the reigning MVP, and he's shown in the past week that he can cut through any sort of defense like Swiss cheese. So I still favor FCC in this situation. I don't see a 6-1 victory because I think it's just too strong of a defense to break through. But I do see a crooked number, at least for FC Cincinnati. I think they're going to score 2 goals. I'm going to call it a 2-1 FCC victory.
I got you. That's fair.
And Cole, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I put a poll out on Twitter earlier today. Just getting the Charlotte listeners and the listeners of the show and supporters getting their opinion as far as what they were expecting, and the overwhelming majority were expecting a draw. And I think a lot of that has to do with just they're looking at it through a biased lens. If I take the Carolina color, I look at this, going up there without your starting striker, your leading goal scorer for Charlotte, who has not been as a team has not been putting their chances away, and has haunted them in every loss this season, is just they're getting plenty of good chances, and Coach Smith has reiterated this time and time again that they're getting in those positions, they're just not finishing. And when you have your leading goal scorer not there, I have a tough time seeing Charlotte getting a goal, maybe one. But again, like you said, with the reigning MVP, and I personally think that Charlotte probably would lose 2-1, 2-0, something like that. Definitely being up in Cincinnati. If it was in Charlotte again, with that caveat, I think it's anybody's ball game. But being up there, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be a tough match. If Charlotte do come out with a draw, it's going to feel like a draw that feels like a win.
Yeah, and I'll double down. I think we're on the same page here. I think that out of this road trip, this hell is real road trip with Cincinnati and Columbus back to back, if we can come away with some points, I'm happy, man. If we get 2 or 3 points, that would be a success in my book. I don't think it's coming on Saturday. So I think best case scenario, 0-0. We park the bus and we just make it a mud fight out there. And if we can do that, then I could see us taking a point. But in terms of my prediction, I think it's going to be 1-0, 2-0 Cincinnati. I don't know where we're scoring from aside from free kicks or set pieces. So, yeah, I just too many question marks on offense. But I can't see Cincinnati scoring more than 2 goals tops. So that automatically puts us in the conversation. There's always a chance when you stop the other team from scoring. I'm not without hope, but as a betting man, give me the Cincinnati minus point 0.5 all day
I
for
do
sure.
think that both of our teams are going to be missing some vital players. I mean, Patrick Ajamong for you guys, he's got out because of a red card suspension. We're missing Obi Nwomito, our midfielder, because of yellow card suspension. So there are going to be some holes that I think both teams can find if they look and stay diligent.
Yeah, I mean storylines
Yeah.
to watch. Key players out. You have the Olympic matchup with Miles Robinson and Liel Abada. Uh, this is right before the transfer window opens, so I'm assuming you guys are hearing some rumors, just like we're seeing the news fly fast and furious over on this side. So it's definitely an exciting time, and I'm looking forward to the game on Saturday. Any final thoughts, gentlemen?
Yeah, I mean, again, I hope that Charlotte can come up there and at least come out with a draw. I'm not hopeful, but Jeff, I really appreciate you coming back on the show, man. We always appreciate you and your coverage of FCC. You do a phenomenal job. Cincy Soccer Talk does a phenomenal job for our listeners. If you have any questions or if you're looking to learn more about Cincinnati, Cincy Soccer Talk is the place to go. And Jeff is a great person to hit up as far as that as well.
And Jeff, can you tell our listeners where they can find you guys?
Yeah, my name is hard to spell, so I would just refer you to our own Cincy Soccer Talk account on either X or over on Instagram, or you can go to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com, our website. We write up quite a bit. We've got some very talented and knowledgeable guys in our group. Coach Brad Goff, who does all of our analysis. Our live show on Monday nights on both YouTube and the recording the next day. Yeah, we try to give everybody sort of the aspect of what it's like to be a Cincinnati fan after 3 long years of Dust Bowl soccer. So
Fantastic. Well, hey, thank you once again for joining us. It's been a pleasure, and we will catch you next time, man.
thanks a lot. I can't wait to see the. Hopefully, I see the powder blue uniforms
Yeah, we love
for
it, man. We
Charlotte
love
FC
it.
on that one. Thanks a
The
lot, guys.
Explorer kit. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
On Tuesday, we had Argentina defeat Canada 2-0, and that set up the real centerpiece of the semifinals, Colombia and Uruguay. And that was hosted at Bank of America Stadium. And we talked about it a little bit earlier. That was insane. It was one of the most electric sporting events I've ever been to. I sent you some photos and videos that have been coming out on the official QCS Pod account. You can follow me at LVLUP_Luke for more of that, more of my game day experience. I'm gonna throw some of that up on TikTok. It was a blast, man. It was so much fun, and Colombia wins that one 1-0 against Uruguay with a red card included on there. So,
Yeah.
uh, overcoming that for the win, it was huge. It was like 90% Colombia fans, 10% Uruguay fans. And of course, there was the brawl after the game, which has been taking all the headlines. We had an
Yeah.
exceptionally uninformed, unserious journalist for the Charlotte Observer. The guy, honestly, I don't know how he still has a job. He gets called out by the actual media in this town every time he does one of these. He just poo-poos on all of Charlotte sports. He's a downer. I'm not even going to give you the recognition of his name, but like, you can go find him and like my reply to his post so I can just continue to ratio the guy. But yeah, it's just that brawl was Conemble's fault, and to blame Charlotte and say that it's a bad look for our city and our soccer culture from a guy who doesn't even go to the soccer games. I mean, shut your mouth if you're not going to come out here and support our team and our soccer culture, man. This was 70,000 people on a Wednesday night in Uptown Charlotte. And you're going to tell me it's a bad look for the city because the South American Federation didn't look at our security policy or take any of our advice or cooperate with Charlotte FC, with Bank of America Stadium, or CONCACAF, even, who had a great security policy for the Gold Cup. I mean, you're going to tell me because they were disorganized and lacked communication and lacked the security which they were completely responsible for, that somehow it reflects poorly on our city that you don't even support, working for the Charlotte Observer. Dude, Fowler needs to shut his mouth, man.
I just want to add on to that because I did get the chance to meet him at this last Inter Miami game. He was there, but I will say you could tell that he was very out of place. He didn't know. He was
He doesn't know
so
ball,
as
bro.
media
He doesn't
members.
know ball.
Yeah, so as media members, we get specific emails as far as statistics and stuff like that that I'm sure he gets his well being with the Charlotte Observer, and it just the questions he was asking, and he was at the post game press conference for both Ashley and Dean, and it was not good. I'm not going to go into detail. I'm not going to roast the guy. He's going to be roasted enough on Twitter, but just know that it was not good, and I echo everything that you're saying.
This dude has a pretty bad reputation, and the Panthers fans jumping in being like, "You do this to the Panthers, you do this to the Hornets." Like the dude just wants to be a hater, and that's not a good way to do business, man. Like we want our sports teams to succeed. We want to support them. And when you're coming after the soccer community, I saw a hilarious post. It was like the one thing that can bring together all corners of the soccer fandom, from the supporter groups to the casuals to the Euro snobs and the South American fanatics. Like all of us can agree that this dude can take a hike. I mean, ridiculous.
Nothing
Like
really else to say about that.
no, I mean the brawl was bad. Obviously, I've seen conflicting videos. It looks like some Uruguay supporters were being really aggressive. Some Colombian supporters were throwing things and taunting. It's a bad look for everybody. Conemble put the players' families, including small children, right behind the bench with the general attendance. So they were mixed in with Colombia fans and surrounded by Colombia fans without any security separation. Typically, events like this, a lot of the feedback has been they should have been in suites or in a secure section of the stadium, which would have been like our Silver Club seating. Places where it's more, it's easier to keep that separation and keep those friends and families safe. That did not happen. And, I watched the whole thing happen live, and it just reminded me of Malice at the Palace. I remember being a kid and watching that and on ESPN. And it just gave me those kind of vibes. And I hate seeing the videos of the parents trying to get their kids out of that section, away from a bunch of drunk idiots who are throwing punches and throwing cups and bottles and stuff. But I mean, as we know from going to the Charlotte FC games, they don't let you have glass bottles or really even metal bottles. They were pouring all of our drinks into plastic cups.
Yeah.
Security was very light. It looked like it was lighter than a regular Charlotte FC game, but you know, I don't know. There was some level of screening, so there were no weapons or anything, and I haven't seen any reports of people being seriously hurt. So it could have been much worse, but Conemble has displayed very poor management and organization of this event, not only at Bank of America Stadium, but at other stadiums as well. That's a shame, but we put over 70,000 people in our stadium on a Wednesday night, and the Charlotte soccer community rallied behind this event, and it was incredible. It was electric. So just shout out to everybody that was doing the right thing and being cool. Shout out to the Colombian fans because that was, like I said, 90% of the people I saw. They were awesome, fun to party with. If you ask me what South American federation I'm supporting, it's got to be Colombia at this point. Jorge Torres won me over. The fans were a blast. So that was wild. Stay tuned. I have plans to meet up with Jorge on Monday. We're gonna grab some Colombian food, talk about Colombian football and what that experience is like here in the Queen City. Moving on, moving on. We got plenty more soccer to talk about, and the Charlotte Independence played on Saturday at Northern Colorado Hailstorm, who's been kind of a thorn in our side, and we actually broke our road losing streak there by beating Northern Colorado 2-1. That was a very interesting game. I was watching that. It's free on streaming. If you guys want to watch the Charlotte Independence games, you can check out their social media for the links. But that was a good one. I know from talking to those Independence players, they really dislike Northern Colorado. They call themselves the NC Hailstorm, and the players get kind of heated because that apparently that road environment is a little aggressive. And that team has been, like I said, just a bad run of form against them on the road. So huge win for the Independents. That brings them up to fourth place on the USL One table, and sitting behind, three spots behind the Greenville Triumph. And I don't know if you can tell me about their last game against Knoxville.
Well, yeah. So they beat Knoxville in League One. They're sitting in first in USL League One with 22 points. They play Union Omaha, who sits in second, so top of the
Right.
table clash this Saturday.
Game of the week.
Which is which is it's gonna be at home at Paladin Stadium at 7 o'clock. I will be in attendance.
Let's go.
It's the it's the Stars and Stripes bash, so it's gonna be all about first responders and military and all that good stuff. And obviously, being a firefighter, I'm gonna take my kids, and so that means I will not be able to. I'll have the Charlotte FC match on my phone, but I'm gonna be there for that because it's just a massive game and it's a massive game in the course of the USL season. I will say, Charlotte. I mean, not Charlotte. The Triumph did lose their most recent match, which was to Lexington. They lost 1-0 in the Jägermeister Cup. But yeah, I mean, a massive, massive match. And big shout out to Jamie Smith, who just got his 50th cap with the Triumph, friend of the show, and Coach Dean Smith's son just got his 50th cap. So congrats to Jamie. And also congrats, Jamie, on your boy Ollie Watkins from Aston Villa scoring the winner in the Euros semifinal to go to the finals for England. Um, Big time there, big time. And one more piece of news for the Triumph: they have a new signing, which is great to see. They have Rodrigo. I want to make sure I'm pronouncing this correctly, but it's Rodrigo Robles, I believe it is. He is from James Madison University. He signed his first professional contract. He's a forward, like I said, out of James Madison, and he is, he'll be there, and I'm very very excited for that as well. Big things coming for the Triumph.
Nice. And I'll hop on as far as the Independents. JC Obregon, Player of the Month for USL One. Huge shout out. He is our offensive talisman. He's been dynamite this year, really putting on a show. And Obregon is just lights out, man. I he doesn't like to really talk to the media, so I'm probably not getting an interview with him. He's a little on the shy side, but he is full of excitement, and I cannot say enough good things about him. I think he's single-handedly propelling Independence up the table this season as they've been dealing with a lot of injuries. And every match, we're just looking at the availability report, and it's like, all right, who are we missing this game? All right, what is it? There's a lot of nagging injuries and little knocks that are keeping the players out. So he's been consistent, and love to see USL One Player of the Month. And speaking of the
Yeah,
Jägermeister Cup, currently in Group One, Greenville is sitting in first place and Charlotte in second. So that's good news for both of them.
yep. And look, man, don't we got some exciting stuff with USL coming up, don't we?
Yeah, yeah. So I brought you guys some exclusive content in the preseason, the USL preseason media days. We covered that, and they're actually going to have a mid-season press conference that the Queen City Soccer Show is bringing you exclusive access to. We are credentialed with USL and USL One, the general organizations. So. We will be in attendance for that midweek or mid-season press conference next week. We'll bring you the exclusive updates and news. We brought you the breaking news last week about the USL media rights deal as it pertains to the video game side of things, their exclusive deal with Konami, and the news that that deal does not necessarily preclude them from working with Football Manager or the USL Super League potentially being in FIFA in the future, or EAFC as they call it now. So we brought you that news about USL One and USL. So next week, hopefully, we'll have some more good stuff for you guys. And we're still trying to get an interview scheduled with the president of USL One. So if we can get that sit down in the near future, that'll be a very exciting time. And we'd love to hear your listener questions about USL, their strategy, their expansion, how they're competing with the MLS structure within the US. the communities that they're working on building and targeting. So the Jägermeister Cup, possibly expanding that next year. There's a lot of exciting things going on, and that kind of ties into the next thing.
Yeah,
And Cole, I was actually at Hopfly Brewing, where the Uruguay fans were loud. They were cheering,
yeah,
they were partying. But we went in the back in the warehouse section, and there was a Carolina Ascent jersey unveiling event at the same time. So it
yeah,
was a really cool like clash of two different sides of the soccer world in the same place.
yeah, man. And what are your thoughts on the jerseys, man?
They're insane. I mean, we saw their logo, their branding, and it's the best of any soccer team in the Carolinas that I'm aware of. And so we knew the jerseys were going to be fire, but they absolutely live up to all the hype. I think taxes included, they're around 105 for the authentic kits, and those are Capelli sports kits. The patterns, the logos, the colors, all of it. It's just you're not going to see that with an Adidas kit. You're not going to see that with an MLS club. Like they look so much better than the generic, copy and paste that most MLS teams have. So it's really cool that they're bringing something different to the table. And the Ascent are kicking off here in August with the first ever match of the USL Super League. It will be at American Legion Memorial Stadium. They are looking at a sellout crowd. So get your tickets now. It'll be fun.
Yeah, and stay tuned to the podcast because it is 100% in this podcast plans to cover this team like we do the rest of the teams in the region, with a little bit more focus on the Ascent as they're going to be Charlotte's obviously professional women's representative. So we're going to be all over this. And yeah, man, I just want to kind of echo what you said about the jerseys. That the kits are absolutely fire, man. And I specifically, I mean, the the white kit, how it's
Yeah.
similar, it's how it fades up, similar to the Explorer kit for Charlotte FC, just obviously different colors. Is just it's next level, man. And but both kits are just really really well done. So big ups to the Carolina Ascent, and we're excited to be out there. And again, just stay tuned because we are planning on being there, and we're planning on getting a foothold in the Ascent realm.
Yeah, man. The players and coaches were there at the event. It was a really good turnout, few hundred people. So the community is definitely getting involved and rallying behind them, and you love to see it.
Yeah,
Yeah. So we'll have more about that. Check out their social media for all the signings. There's a lot of players being signed that have Carolina roots and also have trophies and silverware to their name. So there's a lot of experience coming back here to Charlotte.
but moving on, we have the Crown Legacy. They
Yeah.
played Chattanooga, man. How'd they fare?
So they beat the other Chattanooga team because, I mean, you'll remember that Independence play against the Chattanooga Red Wolves in USL 1. They have a rescheduled game coming up on Tuesday. But Crown Legacy plays against the other Chattanooga team, the more official one, from my understanding. And that was a 2-1 victory for Crown Legacy. And they have a game coming up here on Saturday against Carolina Core FC. So the Piedmont Derby is a name I've heard kicked around between Carolina Core and High Point and Crown Legacy. Now, Carolina Core is brand new this year. They're an unaffiliated MLS Next Pro side. And like I said, they're at a high point, but their stadium just finished its remodel about a month ago. So they started out the first 2 or 3 months of the season with all road games, starting with Crown Legacy for the season opener. And they brought, I think, 500 fans on buses from High Point for their first ever match at Crown Legacy. I know Crown Legacy, I've heard from sources close to the organization, uh, was actually planning on getting buses and doing a road trip up to Carolina Core. But with all the Copa America planning, that fell by the wayside, and we're missing out on that chance for a road trip. But if anybody is going to be traveling up there, I will be covering the game as Carolina Core FC Media. My friend Sam Spencer, I think, will be up there as well. And you can follow Soccer Sheet, their Substack, for more Carolina Core coverage. And I'm very excited, man. earlier in the season, we had a chance to sit down with the Carolina Core head coach and give you guys the first exclusive Carolina Core content in the Charlotte market. So now we get to actually go up and see firsthand the stadium remodel. I believe I'm getting a tour of the facility. We might be talking with some players, some management. Eddie Pope from the U.S. national team is the owner. So I saw him at the soccer tournament a few weeks ago, and I think he will be in the house for the Crown Legacy game.
And it was in the plans for me to go, but like a dummy, I completely forgot that do got a wedding to go to that day. So you know how it is with guys, man. We don't think about that stuff. That's all. That's all the wives and girlfriends. They plan all that. They just tell us when to go, and then we forget, and then they have to remind us when we make plans. So that's what happened with me.
That's it, man. Life happens, and I know you're going to get up there for a Carolina Core game in the future, but I will report back and let you know how it goes, and we will continue our support of the Foxes of Carolina Core
Yep.
with one of the sickest jerseys in the Carolinas. I know we were just talking about the Ascent, but if I had to give a second place for best jersey, it's going to be Carolina Core with their green home kit. And if you guys have not seen it, you
Yeah.
got to look it up. It is sick. And I know how we feel about NCFC, and supporting other Carolina teams is not always in the cards, but the Carolina Core folks have been really good to us. They've been keeping us involved and staying in touch. So I like and respect that. And building soccer in the Carolinas, that's my passion. The soccer tournament in Cary, Carolina Core, having the exhibition games in Chapel Hill and Columbia this summer. Obviously, with you being over there and supporting the Triumph and being closer to Greenville and having that access, and me over here with the Independence, I mean, that's what it's all about, man. Like the explosion of soccer in the
Yep.
Carolinas. I actually had our friend Jeff from Cincy Soccer Talk. I was on their show for a little rundown preview of the Charlotte FC game this weekend, and he was asking me, are the Carolinas the new capital of soccer in the U.S.? I don't know, man. I think we might be. And having the U.S.
Dude,
soccer headquarters in Atlanta right down the road, that doesn't hurt either.
that's what I was gonna say. Is I mean, you got it's not just that. I mean, you also have Georgia. Georgia is booming as well. But the three states in a row, man. Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. It's
I mean,
it's
Tennessee,
it's
we'll
all
throw them in
soccer.
there, man. Nashville SC
Yeah.
is doing great stuff. The Nashville area is booming. Chattanooga's got two teams.
Yep.
Knoxville has a team. The South,
Yeah, and
man.
what's funny is I remember before Atlanta United, before Nashville, it was all, people always said that soccer would not make it in the South because college
Right,
football rules, which it still does, make no mistake.
right.
But at the same time, that has been proven unequivocally wrong because soccer is just you go to a Triumph match, man, it's it's as much as Furman University gets for a football game in the fall. I mean, it's 4,000 fans, and you're not you can't beat that, man. For Greenville, and again, obviously with Charlotte FC, and now Atlanta United and Charlotte FC and Independence, it's the Greenville Liberty, the female version of the Triumph, or the play at Paladin Stadium with the Triumph. And obviously now with the Ascent, it's again, man, it's absolutely booming. The Carolinas are soccer.
Yeah, and it's going to continue. That's what we're here for. So, like I said, Crown Legacy, and I'm going to be switching jerseys over to Carolina Core on Saturday as we continue to support all of the soccer in the Carolinas. Carolina Core also did, now that I'm thinking about it, they played against the Charlotte Independence in preseason. So
Yep,
I just love the way we're getting these local matchups across leagues, across divisions. We're getting just, I think it really helps to build the community, right? Like you get exposed to these
yep,
different teams and these different styles and looks. And I mean, 500 people on buses from High Point to Charlotte for a Division III soccer match to start the season. That's incredible. And I think it's going to be a sellout on Saturday up in High Point. So holler at me if you're going up there to the game. I'd love to either, do a little road trip or at least help you get some tickets for the game if you're going to travel up there. Let me know. And I think that does it for the look ahead. But we are obviously brought to you by some sponsors. So let me tell you about that.
Queen City Soccer Show is also brought to you by Level Up Home Consultants. When you are ready to level up your home, visit leveluphc.com. That's leveluphc.com. School's going to be starting up soon, and if you want to upsize, downsize, maybe you're going through a major life change like a marriage or a divorce, maybe you need to relocate. Maybe you're going to be moving to Charlotte and you're using this podcast to help you learn about our soccer culture. But more importantly, you need to find somewhere to live. Charlotte is filling up. We have 30, 35 people per day moving to Charlotte. So it's more important than ever to work with a trusted expert, somebody who knows the market, who can get you the best deal and help you find the perfect next home. Reach out now for a free market analysis to sell your home and to get a home buying game plan together. Every home buying journey is different. Contact Level Up Home Consultants today for your free consultation. A portion of the proceeds from any real estate transaction will go to nonprofit youth soccer causes in the Carolinas when you mention QCS Pod. You can find them on Facebook and Instagram at Level Up Home Consultants. Hashtag Level Up Your Home.
All right, and we are back getting into some Charlotte FC news. Cole, it's been a busy week. What's going on, man? What's the latest? What are you hearing out there on the Twitter streets?
Yeah, man. So it has been. We'll start with the guys leaving Charlotte first. The big one, the Scotsman, Scotty Arfield, fan loved Scott Arfield. He is confirmed to be gone. He's going to Bolton Wanderers, and yeah, man, it sucks to see Scott go. I was a big Scott Arfield fan, but he really wasn't seeing the field nowhere near as much as I'm sure he wanted. And yes, I mean he's gone. You got Hamidi Diop, who he's going on loan to Serbia, and I can't pronounce the name. I'm not even going to try. Just know that it's in Serbia. But yeah, and so yeah, you got two players. Diop obviously a lot more with legacy, coming out of Clemson as the first round super draft pick, or the first round super draft pick for Charlotte. He's getting loaned out, and Scotty gone.
Yeah, man. So make sure to hold your loved ones close, your wives, daughters, mothers. I know they're going through a rough time now that Scotty is departing Charlotte here. So just be there for them in this trying time. Hamidi Diop, we've reported and told you guys that our sources within the organization have told us that he's a project. Um, Based on their scouting, they thought he was going to be plug and play. Once he got here, he got into training, and they just weren't seeing what they need from him. I've heard different things, whether it's on the field or off the field. Maturity issues has come up a few times. I think going on loan overseas, especially in a tough physical league like the Serbian league, uh,
Yeah.
that's gonna tell us a lot, I think. If his development, if he's going to be able to not only survive over there but thrive and build his game and really get that taste of what it's like to be a professional. I think that's a good move. And the reason we're loaning him out and not selling him is that's a move that clubs do when the player still has talent and they think that their future prospects, either for getting more playing time with the first team or his future resale value, are still high enough that this getting the playing time, getting the experience, could actually build his value. So they're not giving up on Hamidi Diop yet. He does have a little ways to go.
Yeah, I just want to add on. Hamidi, his first season with Crown Legacy. Let's not forget that he did get injured and was out for months. So trying to come back, obviously from an injury, and again, I wish him the best. I don't have anything bad. I've watched a lot of his games. I watched him at Clemson.
Yeah.
He's a very, very good talent. He's a very, very good defensive player. That injury set him back significantly. So hopefully he can stay healthy, get out there, get some minutes, get, like you said, a more physical league, and return back and be a star. Because realistically, he's not going to be starting anytime soon, because we know that Andrew Privet has signed a new contract. But big news coming out today, and that is that Addison Malanda, his center back partner, has also signed a new contract through 2026 with an option for 2027. This is what Melanda had to say about it. He said, quote, "I'm very happy to sign a new contract with Charlotte FC. This is a club that is perfect for my development as a professional footballer, and it's the right place for me right now in my career. I'm excited to continue this season as we push for playoff qualifications." And end quote. And man, this is massive. Make no mistake, Addison Malanda is going to be playing in a top five league starting very, very soon. So to keep him here for at least another season, maybe two more, is just phenomenal. And Zoran Cornetta, the general manager of Charlotte FC, had this to say. He said, quote, "Extending Addison's contract was a key priority for our summer business, and we're delighted for Addy to come to continue his development in Charlotte. Since arriving in the summer of 2022, his quick progression from a young player with potential to key leader of our defense is a prime example of one of the development pathways we have created at this club. He is undoubtedly destined for a great career ahead," and I agree with him 100%, Luke.
Yeah, and it's pretty wild, man. Malanda is currently rated by Transfer Market at a 3 million euro valuation, which puts him third on the team behind Liel Abada and Karol Swiderski. So um, I I think they're underrating him with that value. I would put, if I had to guesstimate, I'd put him around the 6 to 7 million range. And he's not on a DP contract with us. That's not what this re-signing is about. So we're fortunate to have him. Is he going to stay for the length of that contract? Doubtful, but it certainly gives us more leverage in a trade conversation, and he's certainly going to be getting paid more money. So I wouldn't be surprised if some of that Bill Tuiloma salary cap space is going to Dilson Malanda at this point. A few other rumors that are out there. I mean, obviously we have Diop going over to Serbia, Scotty Arfield to Bolton. We're still linked with Callum Wilson. So we're talking about a
Yeah.
mystery signing. Charlotte FC is still involved, and Transfer Market has that rated around a 50-50 shot. Um, Speaking of 50-50 shots, I did make an appearance on the Charlotte Soccer Show pregame yesterday at Hopfly, and they asked me about Luciano Rodriguez, and we had a little bit of drama here. So why don't you tell me, Cole, what can you tell me about the Luciano Rodriguez situation? Things have been going crazy over the last 48 hours here. Bring me up to speed with whatever you're allowed to tell me.
Yeah, so it's complicated. So Luciano Rodriguez, if you as you all know, Uruguayan player, he was linked to Charlotte earlier this season. That kind of got itched, and now the rumor started flying again that he was still linked with Charlotte FC, and we had been contacted and talked to some people who probably are in the know. Let's put it that way. That his camp is still interested. However, he's also interested in River Plate and Boca. Um, there's the question here becomes, is the club still interested for the price, and specifically with Carroll coming back, and there's a lot of other factors going on here.
Yeah, and you'll remember that Zoran Kraneta, his background before he came to Charlotte FC is that he was actually an agent. So he was on the other side of the table. With this situation, the agent in question for Luciano Rodriguez has been insisting on a 25% sell-on clause, which is what led the talks to break down with City Football Group. They were unwilling to meet the demand for the 25% sell-on clause, which, as you know, if you guys have played FIFA or Football Manager, that's a very high percentage for a sell-on clause. You're normally talking anywhere from 5 to maybe 20%. So 25% is pretty insane. But if River Plate or Boca want to meet him at that number, I think that's, from what I've heard from insiders, that's what's killing the deal with Charlotte FC is that same sell-on clause. Although the development here, the big development that we breaking news from Cole with the Queen City Soccer Show, is that Luciano Rodriguez is open to Charlotte. He's open to the market. He's interested in our club. So that is not holding up the deal. And we get listener questions all the time about, like, what will it take to get a big name? What will it take to get a marquee signing? And what we tell you guys is, like, one thing is that we're not LA, we're not New York City, we're not Miami. We don't have the cachet or the name recognition. This is Charlotte, man. It's a great place to raise a family. So if you want a young superstar player, and they're open to coming here to this market, I don't know. I might meet him at that 25% or see if you can bargain it down to, 22.5%, get a little discount. But I hope that Charlotte stays involved with this. And I said yesterday, I thought it was maybe 50-50 at that time. And now with learning more about the situation, I know we had a listener question. What percentage would you give Luciano Rodriguez? I don't know, man. I think I'm around 20% that it happens. What about you?
Yeah, I'm honestly going to go a little bit lower. A 10 to 15%. I'd be very surprised if it happens at this point.
I will say that we have a large mystery DP signing that's looming out there. And I've had multiple sources telling me about this DP level signing that they've been tracking for months now and is supposed to be announced in the summer window. So we have somebody. Tim Ream is still happening. There's some breaking news.
Yep.
Tim Ream is still happening. Uh, I was
Yep.
told it was going to be announced last week. I was told again this week that it would happen this week. So I don't know what the delay is, but I've heard from
Yep.
multiple sources that it is still happening. I asked them flat out. It sounds like it's cooled down. Like, has there been a lack of interest, or is this still for real? I'm told it's still for real. So Tim Ream coming in right after the Adilson Malanda contract extension. I think that was intentional. I think the club wanted to
Yes.
signal that Malanda and Privet both just got contract extensions. They have a great center back pairing, a great partnership. They're not going anywhere. So just because we're bringing in a veteran at the position, it's more for rotation. And I'm very optimistic. I think Tim Ream still has it. I think he's been balling out in England. So I would love to see the American come back here. And man, he's one of those players like I could see myself getting a Tim Ream jersey.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's coming. I think they were, I think that it's only a matter of time. I think Tim to Charlotte is like we were given percentages a minute ago, and I would say that it's above 60%. Speaking of some changes and stuff, the United States men's national team don't have a coach at the moment because they did it, Luke. They got rid of that son of a bitch. They got rid of Greg Berhalter. Can you believe it? Are you happy? Are you twisted about it? How do you feel? How do you feel? Greg Berhalter is
Yeah,
gone.
Triple G out. I don't know, man. A week ago, I would have told you that this would be exciting. That we say we never want to cheer for somebody's downfall. Like this is a man with a job and a family, and finding out that you lost your job on national TV is never fun. Um, we say all that, but this is a guy who should have never gotten the job back to begin with. He never should have been rehired. He's a fraud, and we all know it. So no, I don't feel bad. Maybe that's me being cynical or immature, but no, I don't feel bad for Greg Berhalter in the situation because he should never have been brought back after that last World Cup cycle, after the drama with Gio Reyna. And look, he went to a public place and spoke in front of journalists and told private locker room business and private stories out of class. And you don't do that. Like that goes against not only soccer code, but like athlete code and just you don't do that. It's disrespectful. And then the allegations and the messy soap opera drama and the, spousal abuse and look, what are you doing for this guy who was the most mid coach of our generation? Like he accomplished absolutely nothing of note. He did just good enough to not lose his job to begin with, and that should not be a reason to bring him back. Just because he would take a pay cut and work on a lower budget, like that is not good enough. We are America. We are the United States of America, and we deserve a top level elite coach, and we deserve a federation that is going to demand better. And the fact that they waited 6 days to make this decision after embarrassingly bowing out of the Copa America in the group stage at home when we're hosting, The fact that this federation does not have the balls to make a decision, to pull the trigger when it needs to be done, tells me more about them and Crocker, the director of soccer operations or whatever for U.S. Federation, and the board of directors that doesn't have the fortitude or the confidence or the ambition to make a realistic offer to somebody like Jurgen Klopp. They said their initial attempts to contact him were rebuffed this morning by Klopp, who said, "Oh no, I want to take a year off. I still want to stay retired." Don't give the man an option. If he is the best candidate, then you make him an offer he can't refuse. It's absurd to me that we had to wait 6 days for them to do the only common sense thing in this situation. 6 days. It is so insulting, man. I wore that Columbia jersey the other day. I may not wear another USA jersey. Uh, well, you know what? The Olympics are coming up. I'm still going to support the Olympics. That's the youth national team. But I'm mad. Okay. I demand some accountability. I want the people making these decisions to care as much about this team as I do.
Yeah, and I mean, I, let me put it this way: I like the gall to go ahead and set your targets on Jurgen and go and make him turn you down. And just because I will say this, just because he turned them down initially, doesn't mean that they're not still talking. We got a World Cup coming up, and I want to have a coach like we talked about on the last podcast with Vince, right? I want to have a coach who is going to be the face of United States men's national team. That's going to, like he said, I agree with everything that Vince said. You need a coach who can get this country together and excited for 2026. That's going to start with the Gold Cup next year, and that's going to start, just leading up to it. Hopefully, we go after a big name. I have a feeling it's going to be an MLS guy. After seeing the interview with Sharundalo earlier, that's the way he was talking. That guy's already been contacted, and I mean that's just my opinion. Just kind of my own Danny Bram's decoding the presser. To me, he seemed like a guy who's already been contacted for sure.
Yeah, no, that press conference I said earlier, just smarmy the way he's sitting there with a smirk on his face and like overthinking, and I don't like him. Like I don't think he's a good fit for the US national team. I mean, going from one mid coach to another mid coach, like he doesn't bring anything to the table that would lead me to believe he's the best man for the job. But knowing the U.S. Soccer Federation, they had to wait 6 days to fire Berhalter because they had to change Crocker's mind. He's yelling and screaming and banging on tables saying he wants to protect Berhalter and that's his man, and he doesn't want to admit that he made a mistake. That's all alleged from what I was hearing. But finally, all the pressure came around, and the incessant noise from the men's fan base here, the U.S. men's fan base, on TV, Football America. Shout out to Sebastian Salazar, like keeping it real up there and like just telling us that the U.S. Federation was not going to make a decision. They were waiting for the demands and the noise to die down. So we had to keep up the pressure on them because they were going to try to wait it out until the September window. And I think that the loud vocal fan base and the supporters groups, including American Outlaws, put enough pressure on them from the outside that they had to finally make a decision after 6 days to fire Berhalter. But if you go straight to Sharendolo, like, how is that any different than Berhalter? I don't get it. The other name I'm hearing is Herve. He coached the Saudi Arabian national team, the French women's team. He said in an interview that he wants to coach a team from every continent at the World Cup in his career, so he can check North America off his list. He's got the looks, baby. He's got the charisma. He'll bring in the soccer, housewife market to ahead of the World Cup, so that's important. But
Yeah.
he's a journeyman coach. He tends to overperform with limited resources. I don't know. I mean, when I was talking with Jose from the Philadelphia Union, he was saying that you want somebody who's like a finisher, somebody who's gonna like polish it up. He was relating it to like a screenplay. Like you give it to one guy to give it another like once over and just polish things up before you put out the final script. Herb is that guy. He's the guy who's going to polish up the U.S. national team ahead of the World Cup. He's that guy you bring in at the
Yeah.
last minute, the troubleshooter. Durandolo doesn't bring anything. I don't know what his mentality or his approach would be any different than Berhalter. Like stylistically, I think he knows the game a little bit better. And yeah, he's like buddy buddy with the U.S. Soccer Federation. So that tells me that, they probably want him, and he's probably hearing from his little friends with the Federation. So I'm over it, man. Like I'm just, I do not trust them to do the right thing. And swinging for the fences and getting a superstar like Klopp or Marino, like that's what you need to do if you want to be taken seriously. And we're going to
Yeah.
go with an MLS coach or a journeyman. So, like, what's the point?
We were talking about Tim Ream and the chances of him coming uh, from a very good source, very close to the situation. Deal to be done this week or early next week.
Yeah. I mean, it just keeps getting pushed back and pushed back. That doesn't surprise me, but I would like to see this finished and hopefully get him in town before the Austin trip, like when the window first
Yeah.
opens. So we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
I do have some breaking news from Fabian Renkel regarding the Uruguayan national team. 11 players to be sanctioned by CONMEBOL for the brawl at Bank of America Stadium. The brawl at the bank. 11 players to be disciplined.
Wow.
All right.
Wow. Well, this is the way I look at it, man. Look, it depends on what the actual context is to why the brawl started. The theme, I guess, seems to be that it was because Uruguayan players, family members were being, kind of not assaulted, but just getting stuff through at them, getting cussed out, and look, I'm going to be very honest, and I posted this on Twitter. There's only one reason to go up into the stands and fight a fan if you're a player. There's only one. You're a dad, Luke. I'm a dad.
Yeah.
If my kids are in the stands and you're messing with my kids or intentionally doing something to harm my kids, I'm coming in the stands. Make no mistake about it. I don't care about no repercussions. I don't care about no fines. I don't care about any of that stuff. I'm coming up there. Um, so with that being said, if that is the case, I don't personally, I understand that Common Ball can't let it happen, but they did let it happen realistically. But at the same time, I don't blame them, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough because on one hand, you would expect the organizers to have enough security in place where if there was an incident involving the family, the right appropriate people would be taking care of that. But like you watch the videos of that brawl, and I know that CONMEBOL said that security responded within 1 minute. Well, yeah, like one security person, right? And then you look at these European games, and you have a line of security down the aisle separating fans from one another. And you look at like one best security guard who's completely ill-equipped to deal with a situation like this versus a line of like riot police. Like, if you want to take security seriously, take it seriously. And CONMEBOL did not take it seriously. I've been saying today, like, look at what Charlotte and by extension MLS and Liga MX did for the League's Cup last year in Charlotte. I've never seen that much security at Bank of America Stadium, but they had international team, international supporters, and they knew that it could be a challenging situation. So they had additional security in place, and we simply did not see that yesterday. All they had to do was copy the playbook from League's Cup. It was already right there. They chose not to, and they put the visiting family members in harm's way. And so, like you said, you're a dad, I'm a dad, and I saw, a mom carrying her little baby getting stuff thrown at her, and one of the cups or whatever like hit the kid. Yeah, man. I'd be pretty pissed off. And Nunez didn't start really going ham until he got up into the stands and talked to his significant other, and she told him something that set him off. So one can only imagine what that was, right?
Yeah, and I mean, again, that's pretty much all I can, all I'd really say about it. I mean, again, I get it. You got to discipline the players because you can't have that. And it was just a mishandling by Best Security. And I'll be honest with you, Best does the Charlotte FC matches, and obviously um, as a media person, whatever, you you get to know these guys. There's some great ones, man. There's some very, very good security guards down there, letting you in and off the field. But at the same time, dude, I've run into some absolutely horrible ones, and I've made that known. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I've told you guys before, like I think I've said it on the air, like my first game where I was in my new section, when I changed my season tickets, the first game in, one of the best security guards, after I'd already gone down into the section previously and come back out, and like he already knew I was in there, stopped me. I had my hands full of concessions, and like literally just I had my hands full, and
yeah,
sir, I'm gonna need to see your ticket. I'm like, I was just hit, like you just saw me, and he's like, I'm gonna need to see your ticket, and I go, well, my hands are full. Like, what do you want me to do? He goes, I'm gonna need to see your ticket, and put his hand on me, and I just
yeah,
about lost it, dude. Like, you don't put your hands on
yeah.
somebody. Like, I just about,
Well,
I was like, I just got these tickets in the section. Like, one of two things is gonna happen: either this dude needs to go, or I'm probably not coming back to a Charlotte FC game.
yeah, and I'll be honest with you, man. I had to file a complaint like formally to some of our higher ups that cover, that are over us, to because I had my wife who was shooting photography for the podcast. We went down. It was her first time doing it, and so I took her down to the field, which we had, our passes for. We were in our media bibs, and I was going to show her where she needed to set up. Right before, I mean, it was before the match, and we walked out. We were walking out on the field, and they scanned our little badge and let us out there. And then the guy standing right there, he said, "Let me see your badge," and I was like, I mean, whatever, whatever. And but at the same time, you just seen us get scanned, so our badge is good. And so, but my wife walked kind of in front of me, and he reached out and like kind of grabbed her by the bib. And there was actually a sheriff's deputy standing beside him. And I looked at that deputy, and the deputy was like, "Hey, don't grab her." Because I looked at that deputy, I was like, "Man, I'm telling you, I'll go to jail. This is
Yeah.
the one thing I will go to jail over." So, yeah, it was
So the postscript on that is, I brought it to the appropriate, person's attention with the front office, and they relocated that security person, and all's well that ends well. It was fine. Um, but that's the kind of person that they have there, and it's like, if you're going to blindly enforce the rules, like this is the NFL, and it's not in keeping with how we conduct ourselves in the soccer ecosystem, like the culture here is not that way. And we've had those incidents in other stadiums where they're using NFL security people. If you're putting your you're putting your security plan on the line for a major event with over 70,000 people, and you have these employees that, like you said, I'm sure a lot of them are great people, but they're not all familiar with soccer culture or how these games work or where there could potentially be flashpoints. They're not experienced. I mean,
yeah.
and then you have an incident like this, then you have dumbasses in the media saying that's giving Charlotte a black eye. Like, no, it's not. It's clearly, it has nothing to do with us. That is Conemble's fault. But Conemble
And
should have planned better.
I'll be honest with you though. I was talking last night to my son. Now the caveat, obviously, he's 10 years old, but I think that there's probably going to be some retraining going on when it comes to
Yeah,
best security. I mean,
yeah.
I think that's coming down the pike for them guys. Probably this is maybe our longest episode we've ever done, which I'm fine with it. Yeah, but let's kick on with the listener questions. Luke, you want to start them off? You want me to start them off?
You go ahead and start it off.
Joe Garcia, the MVP, the man, the myth, the legend. We love Joe. He asks a two-parter. Any idea if we are still in on Ream, and if so, when should we expect an announcement? Joe, if you've listened this far, brother, you already know that answer. And then he has a fun non-soccer question. Since it's summer and Satan is bringing the heat, Luke, do you prefer ice cream or ices, and what flavor is your favorite?
Oh man. As I've gotten older, ice cream doesn't quite agree with me like it used to. So I'm kind of out on ice cream. I don't have much of a sweet tooth, but if I'm gonna get a frozen treat, give me like a gelato or a Italian ice sometimes. Sure. How about
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, and I'm an ice cream dude, man. Unfortunately, it's not good for you and all that good stuff, but dude, that is my guilty pleasure. I love just regular chocolate ice cream, dude. I love it.
Once in
I
a
love it.
while,
So
Yeah, once in a while you'll catch me with a milkshake. Every once in a while, a little Chick-fil-A
Yeah.
or Cookout milkshake.
Yep. Yep.
So yeah, we're looking at from over in the Discord server, Big Chief. I think that's Chief Kiefer. Are we actually signing Luciano Rodriguez? We talked about earlier. I would love it if we do. I want us to be serious. If we can get them to budge off of that sell-on transfer fee, then I think our chances go up immensely. So I'm still putting it around 20%. Following up on that, because we already talked enough about Luciano. Unfortunately, Soy Mint with a question: what does depth look like without Arfield in the midfield? Arfield was a key depth piece. I think we are still pretty stacked in the midfield. We got Urso, Diani, Bender, and I've heard some people talking about Bender might be getting transferred. I don't think that would happen. I think from a financial standpoint, from a marketing standpoint, it doesn't make sense. So unless there was a great offer on the table, and once again, at this stage in Bender's development, coming off of the injury, I don't think there would be that kind of an offer on the table. I don't get why we would transfer him or whatever. So we have Bender, we have Bronico, Urso, Diani, Westwood, but you need more depth than that, and we have some guys actually behind them on the roster as well. Arfield was a good depth piece, but he just didn't have. It didn't seem like it was the right fit. And then that red card, man, like that red card just killed our chances for that game. So, um,
Yep.
no, cool. What do you think about the depth in midfield?
Yeah. I mean, I think that. I mean, obviously, we have depth. Make no mistake, and I think that's what it boils down to with Scotty, right? I think that you have younger players like Nikola Pekovic that can slot in. You got Jabril Gianni, you got Ben Bender, you got Carroll's now back in the fold. You have Junior Urso. So I mean, and realistically, I would be
Yeah,
shocked if
Pekovic
this
is
team doesn't
huge.
go after. Yeah, I would be shocked if this team doesn't go after a 10 in this
Yeah.
transfer window.
Well, because our
So
current number 10, Breck Diagre, we haven't seen much from him lately. So talking about a depth piece, I think Diagre, I would assume, is probably on his way out if we can find a place for him. Um, you know, Yao Pedro can actually play defensive mid. Brandon Cambridge can play some attacking mid. And then actually Nick Scardina from Crown Legacy is on the first team roster. So we still do have some depth, but I think Soymint is onto something here. We're looking at Arfield out, Diagore potentially out. Um, what do we do here? We got some of these guys that are injured coming back off of injury, like Bender and Cambridge. João Pedro is more of a defensive player. I'm not sure, man. We do got to build up some depth. We got some Crown Legacy guys
yeah,
that are coming up soon, so we can always tap Crown Legacy. There's always money in the banana stand. Um, so
yeah, for sure.
next question. I think that settles that
Yeah,
one. Um,
yeah.
do
Then
we
next
actually
question.
Yeah, do we actually have a free DP spot if we hold on to Carroll? Does Abada count as a U22 DP? That's from Big Chief again. My understanding is that Abada is a true DP. He's not taking up a U22 slot. Um, Even with Carroll back, I believe we do have one DP slot open, but we are actively shopping Carroll. Carroll is not just in the shop window; he is out in front of the store with a big for sale sign. Okay, like Carroll is definitely going to leave if they can find a place for him in Europe that will give us. I think the last number I heard was at least 6 mil. So
Yeah,
if we can sell him for at least 6 mil, he's gone. Turkey, Italy, wherever it may be. But until then, he has a point to prove. Uh, from what I've
yep,
heard, he's very motivated, right? So, I mean, mentality was always my question with him. I'm setting myself up to get burned again, but I'm going to be cautiously optimistic that Carroll is going to hang in there and, you know, fight for his position, fight for his trade value, because that's really what it comes down to.
yeah. And the second part of his question is Carroll staying. I think you just answered that. I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked if he was here past the transfer window in the winter. Personally,
Yeah. And Soyman adds on,
and
what is this Swiderski impact? So, what does the front line look like to you Cole, like with Swiderski back, what is the impact of having Carroll here?
Yeah, I think, and I've said this before. I've said this on Spaces and on previous episodes, and I've said it on Twitter. I think it's a good thing. I think specifically with Scotty, definitely now going to Bolton, you have Carroll. To me, it should be Patrick up top, then obviously Abada, Vargas, and then I think Carroll should slide into that 10 role like he did our first season when we had Daniel Rios up top and we were very good.
Yeah,
I think that's the problem is he wanted to in the past, definitely last season under Latanzio, when we had Enzo Capetti up front, he wanted to be up top, and he did not make that a very he made that very known that he wanted to be the striker, and he didn't like playing that 10 role. But I can tell you right now, Dean Smith will not play that crap.
yeah,
And the thing about it, what don't make no sense to me is Carroll is a good number 10. I understand that he wants to be a number 9. And don't get me wrong, he has a decent skill set as a 9. But I think that him being predominantly left-footed and being able to switch the field with the likes of a Kerwin on the left and then getting the ball up to Pat and then on set pieces. I mean, he is a threat on set pieces. We've seen it. So I think that he will have an impact. I think you'll see him. Obviously we only have half a season left, and that's including Leagues Cup. Realistically, I could see something as far as in that 6 to 8 goal range with maybe 6 to 8 assists. And if you get that out of him, this team's going to be in the playoffs and probably hosting a playoff game. So you have to. That would be the ceiling. The floor would obviously be what we kind of seen last season with Carroll. The talent's there. The mindset has to follow along with it and be willing to accept what this team needs and then not let it be all about Carroll, which it was in the past.
yeah, yeah. I totally agree. I would like to see a switch to a 4-4-2 if the team is performing well in training. So, in Dean we trust, but I'm hoping that he's going to continue his pragmatic streak and look at alternative formations because I would love to see a little bit of Carroll and Pat up top, especially if they can get a connection going. I'm still mad that we don't have the Liel and Pat connection. I think they could be unstoppable if they get that worked out. And with Swiderski, though, having two strikers high could be very interesting. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it. I think in Dean's system, he likes having that. He likes having that lone striker up top.
Okay. Well, we'll see how it goes. We're getting Swiderski back for the July 20th game against Austin FC after the transfer window opens on the 18th. That was another question. Why do we have to wait to get Carroll back? It's because he has to re-register. He played in an international league. So coming back to the U.S. league, FIFA rules are that he has to re-register in this country. You can only do that once the transfer window opens. And yeah, so that's that. And I do have another listener question here. But before I get to that, I have a grand finale question. Did you have any more, Cole?
Oh, that's all I got.
All right. So listener question from what is somebody named Luke? I don't know who that is. NCAA 25 is coming out next week. How much of an impact is this going to have on your life and your mental well-being?
I'm
I'll
gonna
let
be
you take
honest
this
with you,
one.
man. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think that we're gonna see from the age group of like 30 or 25 to 45, that age group of men, we're gonna see divorces spike. We're gonna see jobs lost. We're gonna see production stop for about a month because it's just look, man. We all know, or I won't assume anything, but what me and Luke are both big time college football fans,
Yeah.
and this was a game that I grew up playing. I mean, literally, me and my cousins would stay up. We wouldn't even go to sleep. We would go to sleep maybe at 7 o'clock in the morning because we would take Furman or Georgia Southern
Yeah.
or Appalachian State, and we would do a dynasty with them and take them from nothing and go through 12 seasons with them, winning national championships and stuff. And it was all we did. So when it stopped coming out, man, it was heartbreaking. And to have it back, in the time that it's been gone, I'll be honest with you, my love for soccer has blossomed significantly more.
Yeah.
So I play the only games that I really play. I'll play Fortnite with my son every once in a while, but I mainly play FC24. And I'll be honest with you, I'm gonna be taking a break from FC24 to play it, but FC24 still has my heart. But NCAA football is just it's a different ball game.
I try. Like I get them every year, the FIFA EAFC games. Like I get them once they get on the like Game Pass or whatever, and then once they start offering them for free. So it's usually towards like the end of the cycle. Um, but I like playing career mode. I loved playing Dynasty in NCAA. So I'm just that kind of player. And the Dynasty mode or the career mode in FIFA is so bad, and it hasn't improved like year over year. And like ever since they started doing that Ultimate Team thing, they put no effort into the career mode at all. And it's like they don't even have the MLS roster rules right, or the stadiums. Like there's nothing in there for an MLS fan besides the kits and the logos. Other than that, it's like they just threw it on there for the sake of it. Like there's no effort whatsoever. And NCAA coming back, my God, like where do I start with NCAA, right? Like I kept my Xbox 360 hooked up to the TV in my bedroom for years. I mean, probably 5 years after that game came out. And obviously the console generations advanced, but I kept that system plugged in just so I could play NCAA 14. And I would boot it up and play Dynasty mode. And I'm, 20, 30 years into a save file, and Syracuse is the, 10-time national champion or like, whatever it is. But it's like you got to start off at the lowest of the low, the like 1-star school, and then like build your coaching career up until you're coaching Alabama. Like that was always my thing is I would take the lateral moves or the advancement moves until I got to my favorite school. And by that point, it's like 20 years into the dynasty. So I love it. I played college football revamped as a stopgap, which is like a Madden reskin. And a lot of the team from that college football revamped went to work for the EA NCAA game. So they have true fans making this. And I heard a great interview on Split Zone Duo with Stephen Godfrey interviewing the head designer for the game. And he told the guy straight up, he's like, you realize this is going to tank the GDP of this country, right? Like,
It is.
and he told him straight up, and the guy's like, oh yeah, I don't know about that. It's just a video game. And Godfrey's like, no, like the casuals in my life, the guys that haven't played video games since they were like teenagers, they're going out and buying PS5s and Xboxes so they can play this game. Like this is a big deal. You, the amount of casuals that are going to like start playing games again. And another great point, we're going to have the most informed fans this college football season. They're going to know all the players' names. They're going to know where they play, like how good people are, because they're playing this game and seeing the actual players. We never had that before. Yeah, man, I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm going to be spending a lot of time on that. My productivity is probably going to dip a little bit, but it is what it is, right? So,
Yeah.
Queen City Soccer Show Dynasty League, are we doing it? What are we doing?
I think it should be a thing.
We'll talk about it. We'll figure that out off air here. But thank you so much for tuning in with us today. And this might be the longest episode we've had. I think we're going to be pushing 2 hours by the time we drop this. Cole, it's been a pleasure, my man. I'm making a salad for dinner now, so I'm going to go run and enjoy that. FC Cincinnati, man. Huge shout out. Thanks to Jeff from Cincinnati Soccer Talk. Make sure to give them a follow. They put out a lot of good content. It seems like a similar vibe to what we do, right? They have like a live show on Mondays, and then they do like a analytics breakdown, which we don't do, and then they have their weekly show. So they got a pretty good thing going on over there.
Yeah, and be sure to check out Luke went on the Jersey Swap program talking Charlotte FC on their podcast. So go check that out and show Luke some love over there.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, whenever I get a chance, whenever somebody sends me an invite, I'm always down. So
Yeah.
and you've been on there too before, so that's good crossover, good folks,
Yep.
and I'm sure we'll see him again in the future here.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, hey, for Cole, I'm Luke, and we out.
Yep. For the crown.
The Jacks.